What's going on, guys? Coming at you from another angle of the record store. I don't usually film from this angle, but I don't know, why not? I am here in this video to show you some of my favorite things that I'm going to be putting out on Friday for Black Friday at the record store. Now, we don't really participate in Record Store Day Black Friday proper. We did order a few of the titles from the list, but I'm talking like 5 maybe, and we got like 3 copies of each. So it's really just stuff that I thought was cool, not so much a way to grab all the titles that you may want on the list. There's a lot of great stores in town that do that. So for us, we're opening normal time at 12 so people can go get the records that they want at other stores from the list. But then they show up to Too Many Records at noon to get the records they need. And you know what? In the past, we've had a line for events like this, and I hope that if I do my job right, we'll have another line this year on Friday. These are not necessarily the rarest or most desirable titles that we're putting out. These are my favorites, my picks, the ones that I am the most jazzed about to get on the walls for you guys to hopefully take home. So without further ado, let me go through them. And I'd love for you to leave a comment below with any of these titles if there's something that you would like to take home and add to your collection. If you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, this would be a great time to do so, and I would greatly appreciate it. Just hit the subscribe button, hit the little bell so you don't miss out on the videos I put out. Let's begin. Look at this beautiful double obi strip Japanese pressing of Pink Floyd Metal. I mean, the disc itself is fantastically immaculate. The jacket is extremely clean as well, and I heard from one of my regulars who's a bit of an audiophile that this specific version of Metal, the one with the 2 obi strips, is the best sounding pressing that exists, and apparently is even better sounding than the MoFi. Now, I can't say if that's true. I have not heard the MoFi, but I trust his opinion. He's definitely a smart, articulate dude. But that being said, I'm very excited for this to get in the hands of somebody. This was one that I almost had to keep myself. How about this 1970 press of Roy Ayers' Ubiquity? This album is so funky, it is so good, and this is one of the harder ones to find. It plays VG Plus with a little bit of a light crackle, but again, you just don't see this one pop up very much, and if you're a jazz funk fan or a funk fan, you know this album is the truth. This is kind of a cool one. This is a white label promo of Boston's self-titled record. I think that Boston's self-titled is arguably the greatest debut record of all time, and a white label promo version, so cool. It's no secret to anyone that I am a huge fan of Gabor Szabo, and this is Dreams, his magnum opus to many. This is, if not a first press, a press from the release year, and this is just an amazing record that everybody should own. Vinyl Me Please did a reissue of this, of course, but there's nothing like having a first pressing. Just wonderful guitar-based jazz that's a little bit spiritual and psychedelic and just sultry, and everything about this record is magical. This is a big one. Probably one of the biggest ones we're putting out for the weekend. This is Aphex Twin's Selected Ambient Works Volume 2, and this is the first UK press on black vinyl, arguably the rarest version of this record. So if you don't know the story behind this, Aphex Twin released this record, and there was a song on it called Stone in Focus. Well, the song was untitled, but fans have called it Stone in Focus. I don't know if he ever called it that or if that was just a fan name. I'm not quite sure, but colloquially, Stone in Focus. It is his ambient masterpiece. And on every subsequent repress of this record, Stone in Focus was just removed. It doesn't make any sense why he would take the best song from the album and remove it, but you can only get it if you get this first press. I think it might be on the cassette too. That being said, you don't see first presses of this ever, especially in the USA, so if you're an Aphex Twin fan, this is a must own. The soundtrack of my youth, Tony Hawk Pro Skater 2. This is the splatter version, which is arguably, in my opinion, my favorite version visually. Of course, this is not an official press, but it sounds excellent. I have one in my collection, and I mean, this just really has all of the tracks of my youth. I played so much Tony Hawk 1 and 2 in my childhood, and Tony Hawk 2's soundtrack, everything from Anthrax and Public Enemy to Rage Against the Machine to Bad Religion to Millencolin, this whole thing just absolutely slaps. So I think this one's gonna go very fast. How about this Macintosh Plus? This is the clear vinyl variant. This was the Vaporwave album that kind of propelled it into the mainstream. Slowed down soul samples, kind of vibey electronic soundscapes. This is the one Vaporwave album you need to own, and the clear vinyl pressing just has that excellent aesthetic that you need. How about a 1998 press of Black Star, Mos Def and Talib Kweli's absolute masterpiece that they did together? You don't really see first presses of this ever pop up, let alone one as clean as this. I would say this plays easily VG+, and this is just an album that every hip-hop head needs to have. Almost no one I know can say a bad word about this record because it's just perfect. Here's one that's a little more obscure, but if you know, you know. This is Aesop Rock and Kimya Dawson, The Uncluded. A very unlikely collaboration between the really quirky indie folk Kimya Dawson and the aggressive wordsmith Aesop Rock, and somehow it feels like there's no way this couldn't exist. It's just so beautifully done. The whole album is a whimsical joy to get through. It is just such a unique hip-hop project. I can't think of anything like it. It only exists on this picture disc format, and it comes with this cool little zine in the back, and it sounds great for a picture disc. I own one, otherwise I would be taking this home. And my opinion is that this will never get a repress because Kimya and A$AP Rock had a falling out, so I don't know. I doubt it's ever gonna happen. This is your chance to get it. I am a fan of the show Dave on Hulu. I think it is a masterful comedy show. I think it's extremely well written and unique. And Lil Dicky is the brain that created that very weird show. He also has a hip hop project under Lil Dicky. And this is his first record professional rapper. If this was gonna get a repress, it would have happened during the seasons of his show that have aired. With the momentum of how well that show did, you think that this would have got a repress. It did not, which leads me to believe maybe it won't. So this is a very hard record to come by. Absolute hip-hop grail, full of comedic raps by someone who's a very talented rapper. You know, sometimes you only get one or the other. But with Lil Dicky, you kind of get best of both worlds. Definitely a grail. How about this Metallica Creeping Death on clear vinyl? The sleeve is a little worse for wear, but ultimately not too bad. Disc plays great, and yeah, Metallica Creeping Death is just one of those EPs that's epic, from the long Creeping Death track on side A to the covers Am I Evil and Blitzkrieg on side B. I mean, for Metallica fans, everyone knows this is a must own, and to get a pressing from the 80s is pretty hard to find. How about this AFI, The Art of Drowning on red vinyl? AFI is an amazing punk band that kind of goes on to some art rocky stuff later in their career, but at this stage, they're definitely straight up punk. And this is one of my favorite AFI records. It predates their huge hits with, you know, Miss Murder and Girls Not Grey and things like that. This is definitely a little more in your face than those records, which are kind of a little more emo rock, but this is such a good album. This is a lot of people's favorite AFI record, and this is your chance to own it. This is one of my favorite records of all time. This was in my top 100 list. This is Guster's Goldfly, a masterpiece of hand drumming and harmonies, and it is signed by the entire band. So if you like signed records, definitely something you should try to grab. This record is just flawless. Uh-oh, we got some Double Trouble VMP for my favorite band, The National. We got Sad Songs for Dirty Lovers and Cherry Tree, the Vinyl Me Please exclusive variants of both. And if no one picks these up on Black Friday, I'm gonna be very mad at you personally. How about this clean 1992 first press of Nine Inch Nails' Broken with the 7-inch? This is such a good EP. They were really firing on all cylinders when they released this era of music, and Broken is just such a great listen front to back. They have a repress of it. Why would you want that when you can get a first press? Two really cool indie rock records. Both are actually on consignment from my buddy. The first is When We Were Friends by Backseat Lovers. It is on this kind of greenish olive vinyl, and it is signed by the band, which is very, very cool. But even cooler, arguably, is this Peach Pit record, Being So Normal. It is the highly desirable splatter variant, and it is also signed by the band. So if you're an indie rock fanatic and you see these, you may be tempted to add them to your collection. I would not blame you. They were personally signed in front of my friend, so I can vouch for the legitimacy of the signatures. And yeah, not cheap, but definitely worth it. Then we got this Green Friday Music pressing of David Bowie's Earthling. A little bit later in his career, but definitely an underrated Bowie record in my opinion. Friday Music puts out nothing but stellar presses. This one's no exception, and the green vinyl is just perfect to go with the cover. Not all presses of Red Hot Chili Peppers, by the way, are created equal, and that is because Kevin Gray, the absolute legend himself, only cut one of them. This one. This pressing sings over any repress that I've heard. It is the best sounding version of this album, and we have a copy that you have a chance to grab on Black Friday. How about another signed record, this time by the Queen Carly Rae Jepsen. This is The Loneliest Time, signed by Carly herself. These are going for crazy money on eBay, and we're gonna definitely beat those prices, but be prepared to pay a pretty penny if you want her latest record, or I guess her second latest. She did a companion to this one, but this record is so good, and you can have it signed by her on Black Friday. How about Eddie Vedder's new record, Earthling? This is the fresh pressed kind of promo version that was released to the 10 Club before the album came out. Some say this is the best sounding version of the record, but ultimately this is the most collectible version of the record. And if you're an Eddie Vedder or Pearl Jam fan, you know you gotta grab this. Another cool signed one right here. This is the Acoustic Sessions by Ghost of a Saber-Toothed Tiger, which is the kind of indie folk bossa nova-y project. And it's signed by both of them, including Sean Lennon. So if you want the signature of a Beatles adjacent, This is your chance. This was my favorite album of the year a few years ago. This is Volcanic Bird Enemy and the Voiced Concern by Lil Ugly Mane. Unlike his rap projects, this was a complete 180 as he released a demented lo-fi indie pop record full of some of the most beautiful and unique sounds I've ever heard, crafting this tableau of sonic mastery for an entire record that keeps you on your toes song to song to song, and really hits you in the emotional core when it's needed most. This record is fantastic. This packaging is amazing. Super thick gatefold with really nice packaging. It's the neon magenta version, and it could be yours on Black Friday. Where my pop fans at? Robin's Body Talk. If you don't want to pay $400 for the original press of this, which has an altered track list, you can get the Record Store Day one from a few years back that's on white vinyl. Still has all the great hits like Dancing on My Own and Fembot and basically all the songs that we love Robin for. This one is getting increasingly harder and harder to find though, so if you don't own this, this would be a must grab on Black Friday. Then we're going to end on a couple heavy hitters. This is a 1990 UK first press of Facelift, one of the greatest grunge records of all time. If you're a grunge fanatic like myself, you know that you got to track down first pressings of this stuff if you can. The repress sounds good, but this is an absolute artifact of the era, and you just don't see them pop up almost ever. So we have one. A near mint first press UK 9 Inch Nails Downward Spiral. What many consider to be their masterpiece. It is so rare to see an early press of this that isn't torn to shreds, let alone a first press near mint. This is a record that you're not going to stumble on again. So if you are a 9 Inch Nails completist or a super fan, this is your chance to get an immaculate copy for your collection. Another 9 Inch Nails rarity. This is the Closer to God EP with the picture sleeve, which, you know, very difficult to find this. This is a true grail for 9 Inch Nails fans, and I am so excited to see this on the wall, and I wonder how long it's going to last. And we had one of these in the store a while back for another special event, but we happened to track down another. This is Live Facelift, the Record Store Day release by Alice in Chains. Very difficult to find, amazing live performance from the Facelift era, a must own. And maybe the craziest thing of the entire day will be this Jar of Fly Sap 1994 US first press, near mint. Just unbelievable. You just can't find these. This is something that we get asked for all the time. People are like, do you have a copy of Jar of Fly Sap? And sometimes it's even hard to find the represses of this. But a first press in this condition, I mean, I cannot imagine this lasting more than 15 minutes when the doors open, but I guess we'll find out. And that is just a fraction of what we have to offer on Black Friday. The thing we do is we take our whole rare wall, which is about 75 records, and we replace every record with something that hasn't been in the shop before. So this is just a small smattering. I'm looking at some of the other titles I didn't talk about, and they're also really exciting. So I hope to see some of you locals here on Friday. If you're not local, you have time to make your flights and or drives to be here on Friday. And all jokes aside, I'm really stoked to see how Black Friday goes. We also do a bunch of really great record drops in the shop. We're putting out a ton of VMP and MoFi titles, past and present, as well as doing a 10% off sale on all of the bins in the store. So there's literally something for everyone, whether you want to grab some budget titles, you want to grab a mega grail, or just dig into what we have in the bins and cut yourself a little deal. Record Store Day Black Friday is a day to celebrate your local record store, also leading into Small Business Saturday. So I'm hoping for a really, really big weekend this weekend where I get to see a lot of great familiar faces and hook people up with a lot of records they've been looking for a long time. So thank you all for watching this video. Again, I'd love to hear a comment with anything in this video that made your eyes bug out, and there'll be more videos coming very soon. So thanks so much for watching. Take it easy.